Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you are in the world today. I'd like to introduce you in a few minutes here, Sean Russell. Sean is in the Air Force and is transitioning into becoming a chaplain. And as we all know, that is a very dangerous position these days with the restrictions that the federal government and the military are putting on them about what they can and can't say. So we just want to rally around Sean. We want to pray for him. We want to become partners with him. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about Sean. So Sean, good morning.
Good morning, Steve.
And why don't you tell us a little bit about your background?
Yeah, so a little bit about my background, really starting at age 16 when I gave my life over to Jesus. Had a pretty normal childhood, but at age 16, I got to be friends with a Marine dad, and his son was my best friend. I started going to church with them, and it was one of those altar calls. I felt called to really just give my life over to Jesus, and I did that. So in high school, I was that on fire youth member, and really simply, when I went off to college, I just lived the prodigal life. I went, as I call it, full prodigal, and I got involved into a fraternity and really lived that party lifestyle. But as I graduated, I realized that God was still calling me back. At age 16, when I gave my life over, I felt called to the ministry, but I didn't really understand the calling of that and the weight of that. And so when I graduated from college, I felt broken. I felt like I couldn't be used. I felt washed up, and I had some really self-deprecating thoughts that really were lies from the enemy. But over time and over years, God really just reconciled me, transformed me, renewed me, and really renewed that passion and desire to go into the ministry. And so I went all the way back to the Marine dad who led me to Jesus, and I thought, maybe I could do military chaplaincy. Maybe that's a route that God would have for me. And so I prayed about it for a long time. I was living at home after college, but then shortly after I realized it was going to be a lot of work if that's the route that God wanted me to go. And I had my undergrad, but I knew I needed a lot more to be a military chaplain. And I just had a moment of prayer with God where I said, if this is something that you want me to do, Steve, I said, I'll do it. I'll faithfully, obediently do it, but you're going to have to open every door for me because this is going to be a long road. And it's been a long road. It's been over 7 years, still pursuing it. But now I am an Air Force Reserve chaplain. The end goal is to be active duty, but I need a little bit more pastoral experience in order to be able to apply. So that's a little bit about myself and where I'm at today.
Well, that's incredible. Thank you for your service, by the way. And thank you for the spirit that God has put in you, and you're following it. Can you tell us a little bit about your ministry as a chaplain? What will you be doing? Where will you be serving, etc.?
Yeah, so before I say that, really what has burdened my heart for the military, so I did the last 6 years of my life, I acted as a Spanish linguist within active duty military within the Air Force. And really over that time, God burdened my heart for the men in uniform, the men and women in uniform, and the problems that they go through, whether it be suicide, marital struggle, depression, PTSD, all of these struggles that many of us struggle with, but are very unique to the military side of things. And so as I step into military chaplaincy, I'm really passionate about restoration of marriages. I'm really passionate about counseling others, bringing hope to the hopeless. And I don't know if you know, Steve, but last year in 2017, 45%, the number one leading cause of death in the Air Force was actually suicide. And so when I step into military chaplaincy, I look and I say, my number one goal is to bring hope to the hopeless, so that people are spiritually and emotionally prepared and they're resilient and they can continue to do their job, but eventually with the end goal of, I want to lead these people to Jesus. And so as I step into Air Force chaplaincy, that's kind of the main focus for me and the trajectory of where God would have me.
And that's really the only hope they have, right?
Amen.
So can you tell us maybe 2 or 3 things that we can be praying for right now?
Yeah, the first one is I have felt called for the last 7 to 8 years to military chaplaincy, and God has had me on this radical path. It has been a crazy path, and over the last year and a half, over the last year and a half, I've graduated with my Master of Divinity to be able to qualify. My wife graduated from PA school. We had our first baby. We entered into a support season where we had to raise our own funds for the last year and a half, and it's just been crazy. And God has really sown those seeds, and we've been seeing fruit recently. So the next thing that I desire to see is that I would be accepted into active duty. So if anyone who's watching, I know you've been praying for that, but if you could continue to consistently pray that I would be moved into the role of active duty chaplaincy as soon as possible, Chelsea and I would greatly appreciate that.
All right. All right. Well, thank you, Sean. I'm sure you're going to get some emails and some calls maybe from people who really want to partner with you and come alongside of you and hold your arms up as you go into a spiritual battle, and a battle maybe even with a battle as a chaplain. So thank you very much for your time today.